Hey, welcome to my channel. Today's video, I'm just going to talk about in response to someone else's comment, I guess, for a video I did about 11 days ago or so, or later than that actually, about what I thought was wrong with the New York Mets as far as at the time when they were sort of in a losing streak. I mean, right now, of course, the fact is like they're doing decent enough to the point of like they're 10-6, but not as great as the Braves, of course. And the comment was, which it's hard to determine how to understand it, but they said basically it's referring to someone by James Harris saying, "These are no hungry anymore. Why don't no plus bring up young players, cut some of the high price, and not doing a blah snap. This New York, not California." So it's hard to determine what he was trying to talk about, but I'm thinking along the lines that maybe this person was trying to talk about. I think because of some of the fact that the Mets, some of the players are overpriced a little bit, and the aspect of like you got Cohen giving a lot of money into it, putting a lot of money into the players. He'll spend whatever it needs to for a winner, which I'm all for. But at the same time, it's more of a case where like, do you want to follow them out? It sounds like this guy is trying to bring up the fake. It sounds like what he's trying to say is basically, why doesn't the Mets follow the model of the Dodgers basically, where you get ownership, get some series veterans, pay them off, but also at the same time, not pay them off, but pay them to bring them for a winning team, but also at the same time, build out your farm system at the same time as well too, which I think every team tries to do. They're trying to build their farm system and also like bring them up at the same time while you have high priced players. I mean, the Yankees pretty much almost sort of did that in a ways as well too, or two more of get the younger, build the farm system, and then get the veteran players later. But in reality, I think it's more of a case where you're trying to win now, but also win for the future too at the same time. I think Cohen is trying to do that. I don't think he wants to deplete the farm system. To be quite honest, I think it's more of a case like I think he wants to win now, but I also think he wants the future. So I think he wants let's get the players we need to win, but also let's get some players for our future too as well too. Because the point is like if some of them are going to leave or some of them are going to get injured, at least we could bring up some players from the minor leagues at that point as well too. I mean, right now, yeah, the Mets are in a ways of not above what they should be doing, but they're in there now. It's still early in the season, to be quite honest. And let's see when Verlander comes back and everyone else coming back, what happens. Because I mean, right now, Alvarez is not so great, honestly. I mean, of course, I think he's got to learn a little bit as a catcher because one of the things is, as a batter, he's supposed to be patient and good enough. But as an actual catcher, I think he's got to learn a little bit from Nito and such, basically, to the point of like he's got to be built into that catcher like a Realmuto or Molina for that matter. If he could become a Molina, that'd be great. But in any case, so now the question is like the Mets are promoting Brett Batty, so from AAA into majors, to see how well he does as well too. Maybe like bring him up and like maybe let him learn a little bit here and there as well too. Uh, with and the fact that you got Mauricio and Vientos doing really well as well too. Like maybe bring them up as well down the line as well too. But it's coming to a point where like, can they follow the Dodgers blueprint a little bit? The fact that they have really great players, veterans, really great veterans, but also good enough and excellent prospects at the same time as well too. It's going to be a little tricky. I think this is a case where like it's going to take another 2 or 3 years for the Mets to get to that point. But the question is like, I think on reality, it comes to this: the Mets need some pitchers. You don't have pitchers, you're screwed. I think, and like let's put it this way: 2013 to 2015 to 2016, for that matter. The Mets had good pitchers. They had Harvey, they had DeGrom, they had Syndergaard, they actually had Mats here and there as well too, as well as Wheeler. Those five, honestly, if Cohen was probably, the owner back then, I think he would have kept DeGrom, signed him for an extension, Syndergaard, as well as Mats. As well, he tried for Mats, but Mats just went off and whatever because he felt he wasn't that much, and probably so. But Wheeler definitely proved his worth. I think if the Mets had signed Wheeler, like honestly, we would have a back three core that would be really well, just like what the Oakland A's were. And that's something that you could take that into to the bank as well too. Honestly, like you build some pitchers, build some defense, defense around those pitchers, and then get the offense in place as well too. It's great. The question is like you can't be relying on one or two bats because like honestly, players are going to go onto a slump. They're going to be in a slump no matter what. I mean, honestly, you can't expect every player to be on 300, for all 182 games, honestly. Um, they're going to be in slumps, and sometimes they might not do so decent enough. I don't know. It's a question of how can they, how well can they adapt. But my honest opinion is like this: you get some pitchers that pitch really well and defensively that keeps the game to like a one nothing score to maybe 2-0 score. Honestly, those you could play small ball at that point as well too. Small ball works. Yeah, you got the money ball aspect and the money ball aspect of things where like, you're buying to pay for runs basically. Are you really buying to like keep defense? Because like let's not forget the offense was good for during Moneyball during the Oakland A's season, but let's not forget they had really three core pitchers that kept him in play at that point as well too. You have three really good pitchers, you're good at that point. So that's the thing with the Mets. Basically, they need pitchers. Verlander and Scherzer, good as they are old. They're not going to last, for the next 3 or 4 years. Um, Peterson, good as he is, he's not that great. He's not a DeGrom. He's not a Syndergaard. He's definitely not a Wheeler for that matter too. And granted, yeah, Harvey with the injury threw him off completely. If he had worked himself off into a little bit aspect, he could have done pretty well. I I don't know. It's hard to say at this point, like how well the Mets can do. I mean, honestly, it's going to be interesting to see because we're going to have in the next couple of days when they go against the Dodgers. They're going to have Peterson against Dustin May. They're going to have McGill versus Kershaw, which I don't think is going to do really well. And then the one that I'm going to be interested in looking at is Scherzer versus Syndergaard. How well Syndergaard pitches against the Mets. I mean, right now Syndergaard is he's 0-2 with a 5 ERA or 5.6 ERA. Peterson on the Mets side, he's got a 4.91 ERA with basically an 0-2 record. McGill, he's 3-0 with a 2.25 ERA. That should be good enough to hold him off at that point. And then you got Scherzer, who's at a 4 ERA plus 4. Then you got Senga, who's at 3, above 3 ERA going in San Francisco. And then Carrasco, no one knows what's going on with him. I think they've got to look and work him out, basically, and figure it out. But you're hoping that Verlander comes back and, probably could take off the load from Carrasco at this point. But we'll wait and see, basically. But honestly, I'm trying to determine how the Mets can build up their pitching rotation. You can buy some pitchers, but I think it's more of a case where you've got to start drafting some really great pitchers. You could tell great pitchers lead you into the playoffs. Then you get the hitters, and they should help out in the long term at that point as well too to get over that hump into the series. Because it definitely showed. Let's not forget, it showed with the Mets that they had decent hitting when they went to the World Series in 2015, but they had better pitchers. And the problem is those pitchers could only last so long. The hitters did not hit, and their defense sucked around them, basically. And like the Kansas City Royals exposed them, they have to have really good hitters. If they make good contact, that's it. The question is, can the Mets actually have good contact hitters to get on base, as well as the point of, essentially good defensive players at that point as well too. I don't know if that's the case. I don't think we'll see him in this situation. Quite honestly, I would love to say yeah, but it's up in the air. But like I said, I'm hoping I answered the person's question correctly, and I kind of agree with him in a little bit of perspective. Like, yeah, we should follow the model of the Dodgers, build a farm system, but I think we should build a farm system from a defensive perspective first and foremost by pitchers. We've got to load up on pitchers. Get as many pitchers as we can. You can trade for pitchers for some serious offensive talent, like what we did with Cedeno. Cespedes. Sorry, Cespedes. I don't know why I said Cedeno. Cespedes. Back then, just load up on some serious amount of pitchers, build up some aces, and you'll see, and then things will turn around to the point you'll start seeing them in the playoffs more and more often. I mean, like you saw with Scherzer and DeGrom. Without them, they weren't doing so good. Once they came back, Mets were playoff bound. If you could get some really good young pitchers that could be serious aces, I hate to say this, but Let's go back to the Braves of the 90s. You had Smoltz, Maddox, and Glavine. Those three pretty much led the Braves into the playoffs or into the World Series quite often, quite honestly. Without them, the Braves are nowhere near into the playoff picture. I mean, you had some decent hitters, but the thing is, as so long as they were good enough to get runs in, then they're good. But the problem is, you just getting 1 or 2 runs is not enough. 4 runs is not enough sometimes. If you don't have good hitters, not good hitters, good pitchers or good defense, it doesn't work. Unless you got some serious hitters that can like bring in like 10 runs a game, that's not happening. So this is where pitchers come into play at this point as well too. So I'm hoping we'll see what happens this year, but next year and the year after is what I'm looking for right now too. Because like I want that dynasty. I need that dynasty. Just having 1 year World Series is great and all, but I need that dynasty because look, we need to replicate what the Yankees did in the 90s and 2000s. We need to replicate what the Braves are doing right now, as well as the Dodgers. I mean, it's more of a case of like we need the farm system. We need to rebuild that farm system at this point as well too. So I'm hoping that all comes into play at this point as well too. And I hope I answer the person's question as well too, or his comment, and kind of agree with them in some aspect. The fact that they're not hungry, saying that the players are not hungry right now, I don't think that's entirely true. I think some of them are hungry. I think some of these players want that World Series rings. Specifically, Scherzer and Verlander have got their rings, but Lindor does not have the ring. I think Lindor being in the show, being in the World Series when Cleveland went against the Cubs, I think Lindor wants that series ring, and that's why he's gonna go all out and try to push it for them at that point as well too. Same thing with Nimmo Nimmo came from the farm system, and like it's someone you could root for as well too at the same time. Same thing with Pete Alonso. So if the case is like in this situation, you bring up some good players from the farm, and these are players that the fans could follow and be identify with. I think the Mets can have that dynasty, but we'll see. Let's see what happens. Let me know your comments or your thoughts actually in the comment section, as well as comment and critique, such. I welcome them. I love feedback. I love critiques, and I eventually would love to create a sort of a dual or confluent aspect of other users, sort of kind of co-creating at that point with the channel videos in relation to the Mets or whatnot. And it'd be great to talk about that as well too. But in that aspect, I'll leave it at that. And of course, if you do like my videos or my content, please subscribe if you haven't subscribed. And if you don't like this video or you like this video, please like or dislike. I'm leaving it up to you. If you do subscribe, I'd say don't leave the notification on until my channel becomes much more worthy to be notifiably, when it gets uploaded. But with that, I'll just say you shouldn't turn on the notifications. Just come in every now and then to the channel and look it in your feed eventually down the line. But with that, I'll leave it at that, unfiltered, unedited, and unrehearsed. Until next time.